Let's bring in violence monitor Mary Haas to speak to us on the escalating violence and killings in KwaZulu-Natal. A very good afternoon to you, Mary. Thank you so very much for joining us here on SABC News this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Flo, and all your listeners.
Just as a start, I mean, given the context of KZN's history around violence, and particularly at a time when councillors are being selected and it often being referred to the hotbed of political violence, what were your or are your initial thoughts behind the motive of this latest incident while we await, official confirmation from the police?
Look, it's very difficult to say. I mean, it has political overtones, obviously, because it was outside of a political meeting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as the Minister pointed out, whether it was targeting specific people or whether it was just part of a general terrorization tactic, we just don't know, quite frankly. I mean, there are tensions in lots of areas around Maritzburg, for example. There's been a few people roughed up. There was someone in the South Coast area a couple of weeks back, threatened with death, almost killed actually. So there are and there was another killing in Cleveland on Sunday night, which has of course always been politically contested. But I mean, again, it's quite strange because the candidate there has been selected, and the man who died was in the camp of the selected candidate. We don't know if there's any connection at all with that. So, I mean, there are these incidents, but it's really difficult to tell exactly what's behind them at this stage.
Well, is there a desire, I suppose, to get to the bottom of these particular political, I'll call them political assassinations for lack of better terminology at this point. You said that it's not confirmed, but we'll just use that for now. I mean, is there any sort of push to make sure that we get to the bottom of this? And the reason I raise this is because, when we hear of these murders close to election season, and I'll say from my point of view, I was it wasn't even surprised. It was a case of, well, we've been seeing this happening over the years, and one just wonders if there is a need or there is a desire on the part of law enforcement and even the political parties themselves, and in particular the ruling party, to actually get behind this.
Look, I mean, it seems to me that there's an attempt with these elections by the ANC, because most of the killings, I can't remember the figure, there were 20-odd before the last 2016 local government elections. Most of them were intra-ANC, but there was a ministerial task team appointed, and I don't know of any successful prosecutions in those particular killings. I've got a list of them. The more prominent ones of them. I've seen this one case handled by the ministerial team set up in 2017 is in court, but that was post-election, right? That's the Sindisa Makaka case. Now, I mean, the ANC at the moment is trying to get more candidates selected who are more acceptable to their constituency and not just to a narrow voting bloc within the ANC. And that in itself has led to intra-ANC tensions, because don't forget there are still factions in the ANC. I mean, there was a lot of resentment, for example, in eThekwini, because a lot of the candidates, the councillors who were aligned to the former Mayor Gumedi, who's in the Zuma camp, had not made the grade. So there are those tensions. Now, I mean, I think there's a desire on the part of the ANC to try and get things better done before the elections. But, I think that it must maybe pay very close attention to all of these meetings about candidate selection, send a senior person around to monitor it.
Right.
That's just one possible way forward. If there's known tensions in the area, make sure there's one or two police there keeping an eye on what's going on. I mean, those are things that can be done within the next few weeks, I guess.
Yeah, and have these murders dating back to the 90s in KZN, specifically by alleged Zingabi, now morphed into target assassinations that are even recruited to other parts of the country. I'm just thinking about Babita Diokaran's alleged killers, them using unlicensed firearms, and one wonders wonders as well, is it not just about, councillors and the voting of councillors, and maybe now also targeting whistleblowers and people who might be, shining a light on possible corruption in a sense where, you might disturb our person if you are to speak out on this particular person, and we need to take you out for that reason?
Look, I mean, that's an important question, actually, because, there are specific dynamics in the councillors' election process because it's a means to an end for a lot of people who would not otherwise be employed, and it's paid handsomely, there's perks, there's tenders, all that. That's why it's so fiercely contested. But what you've said is a very important long-term factor, because these killings of people, whether they are linked to, because some of the killings of people in political parties are linked to corruption, don't forget. Yeah. I mean, the Sindizo Magako one was linked to his blowing the whistle on corruption. Now, so the same modus operandi is used in all of these killings, whether it's whistleblowers, whether it's political councillors, candidates, business people, or your wife's lover for that matter, that you go and hire a hitman, one of the Zinkabi, because that's the way most of the killings are carried out now, and it makes it very difficult because, and this has been going on now for some years, and this is one thing that should have been addressed a long time ago. I've been shouting about funny paramilitary training in this province for the last, since 1994. There's this paramilitary training going on. Nothing is done about it. Now, what are those people being trained for? And we know that these Izinkabi, whether they're working for criminal syndicates, whether they're killing politicians or business people or whistleblowers, most of them are located in the taxi industry. Now, there needs to be a will on the part of the government to tackle this, the regulation of taxis. But what I have suggested as a way forward, because the other thing is the guns. A lot of these killings, to me, I don't know what guns we use, but if you shoot dead 3 people in a drive-by shooting and you injure a lot more, those weapons were probably semi-automatic. You can't stop. You need a better aim with a handgun, for example. Now, we've got to do something about weapons in this province. Now, you could start, it's difficult to know where to start, but you can start right away with, for example, taxi ranks where there are security guards. Are they registered? Are they registered with SERA? Are they registered to carry those guns? Same thing goes for bodyguards. That could be a check done by the police and SERA together. Are these bodyguards registered with SERA? Are they registered to use the guns they're using? Are those legal guns? We have to make a start, whether it is for these killings that look as if they're linked to politics or whether all the other killings that carry on.
All right. Mary, interesting talking to you, and no doubt we'll certainly try to reach you as soon as we get more information on this particular case which has just transpired. That's Mary Haas, violence monitor there, speaking to us about the escalating violence, particularly in KZN, which may be linked to political positions and appointments. Let's take a short break. We'll bring you more news after this. Stay with us.